everybody. Welcome, friends and fellow gamers. It is I, SigTrent, captain of SigTrent Games, and this is SigTrent Games Chronicles #1. I've decided that we will move on from the Developer Diaries, which is the first year of SigTrent Games, and we'll do these Chronicle series for year 2. Mostly, I just wanted to freshen up the videos, give them a new coat of paint, kind of change the attitude a little bit, just a different feeling for our second year of operations from the first year. And in an effort to always be improving just a little bit every time, up our game, make the videos a little bit cooler. We got this little animated background. You're watching some scenes from No Man's Sky there. And now I can put other fun stuff back there. I think it'll just be kind of cool. And I'm excited about it. So let me know if you have any thoughts on the new format. If there's anything you'd particularly like to see as far as content or technical details that you think could be improved. We are all ears for that sort of thing. So let's get on to the company news for SigTrent Games. Aside from the video format, we have some very exciting news, and that is that Shotgun Fantasy is super close to being released. And in the interest of new tech toys, let me turn on my little preview button. Haha, there we go. So there's Shotgun Fantasy. You can see the cover, and we're going to look at some of the interior pages as I talk about it. This is going to be a PDF version initially. It'll be available on SigTrent Games and on DriveThruRPG. We've got more than 75 pieces of art in the book, which is pretty amazing. I had to buy a few more last night just to fill out the equipment section. But we've got everything we need now. And I'm going to get the first proof of the kind of final version here tonight from Anne, who's just putting the finishing touches. We'll go through that for another proofreading pass. We've done a lot of proofreading so far. Of course, you still may be able to find an error in there somewhere. You never know. The PDF is 169 pages long. That means the interior of the book would be 168 pages, plus we've got a cover on there. It'll be available on SigTrent Games and DriveThruRPG, probably towards the end of the week, I'm thinking, but we'll see for sure. I'll, of course, make a big announcement when that happens. We will also publish a version on Sidekick. That'll come just a little bit later. And just so you know, it's sold separately. They have a different payment system than anything else. So each version you buy, you kind of just buy that version and get access to it. Of course, on SigTrent Games, DriveThruRPG, you can download it anytime you want to. We will also have print on demand at DriveThruRPG, but that takes a little bit longer in order to work out all the details and to make sure that it looks good. We got to send proofs to ourselves, review those, make any changes, send them back, that sort of thing. So there's a whole process for that. I didn't want to delay the release of the PDF in order to get those worked out. We will probably also have other print-on-demand suppliers. I'm going to kind of search around and try to find the very best print-on-demand service and then make that available for everybody to order. You'll just send me an order. I will fire off the print-on-demand to you, and you will get your lovely book. We just want to make sure and find which one's best. Might be DriveThruRPG. I don't know. I haven't tried a lot of them yet, so we'll see. We are also going to be working on doing a print version of the book that will be available in stores. That's going to take a little bit longer. I need to get quotes. I wanted to get the PDF version done first for various reasons. Partly to raise money for the print version, and partly just because we can do it faster, and I want to get a book out available into people's hands as soon as possible. So we may do a crowdfunding on that in order to raise money for it. Let's take a look at some of the pages in the book. So, of course, we got our cover here that you've been looking at for a little while now. There's a whole section up front which is about isekai play, which is mixing different genres, science fiction, fantasy people. Basically, you are a person and a character from one world, and you're going into another world. The whole point of Shotgun Fantasy was to get fantasy and magical classes that you could mix in to your modern world games. And Isekai just seemed like the right framework in order to present that in, and then to present the fantasy material in a fantasy context. And so that all wraps together. So this first part of the book has all kinds of different worlds that you might want to think about playing in, different types of mechanisms to getting to those worlds, time travel, portals, dreams, narcotics, whatever it happens to be, different ways that you can end up in different realities. Then we talk about the kinds of conflicts that you have in those other realities, the special challenges that characters will face, the kinds of superpowers that they have as a result of being from another world. And then even we get into the complexities of how to handle situations where, like, the character has two parts. They have a part in the real world, and then when they're in another world, they have a different body, either a different kind of creature or a different self, and how you do the ability scores and experience and all that stuff with those things. It gets pretty complicated, but we have a good guide to give you lots of options. There isn't just one way to do it. We present different options and multiple ways that you can handle it. We do have some recommendations on which are easier and which give you kind of more of an exciting feeling of being different and in a different world, etc. The next section of the book, which is kind of the biggest part, is core rules for fantasy play. So we've got 4 new classes, kind of the classic fantasy classes, and 1 new archetype, which is the spellcasting archetype. Here you can see the fighter class, or the first page of the fighter class. And this is one of the pieces of artwork that we custom ordered. So it is our original artwork. I think he's kind of an interesting character. Definitely a little bit different. I wanted something fantasy, but a little unusual. Anyway, one of the cool things that you might notice if you are an Everyday Heroes player, that this class works with 3 different archetypes. So our 2 more martial-oriented classes, the fighter and the rogue, work with strong hero, agile hero, and tough hero. So you can choose, and it's going to give you a very different flavored character, and the class is designed to be able to build upon and synergize with all 3 of those archetypes. So I think it's a pretty cool new thing you'll find only in Shotgun Fantasy. Here is one of our spells, the Nightmare Assassin spell, which summons up a creature called a Nightmare Assassin, which will be in the book as well. And it's a very cool creature with some really neat powers that plays very differently than a normal NPC creature. So it's a very unusual kind of summon that's really fun because, of course, this creature only lives in the head of the person who is targeted with the spell, and nobody else can see it or interact with it. So it bends the rules of reality and does other cool things. So it's very fun. There are some traditional summons. We've got basically all the different kinds of spells that you are used to from classic fantasy play, plus a few weird things of my own invention, and stuff like a wish spell that's done in a very different way than you might be used to. And all the spells are structured such that there is a base level version of the spell. Many of them start at level 0, rank 0, I should say. And then they can be enhanced by adding ranks to the spell, which means you have to be a more powerful caster to cast it, and you need to expend more mana to cast it. But it does both more powerful things and different things. So you can, split up rays into multiple attacks or create area effects, whereas before you can only affect a single target. Or, sometimes you have limited targeting at the lower level version, sort of like goes from hold person to hold monster, that kind of thing. So there is a lot of what you would think of as multiple different leveled spells from traditional fantasy play are merged into one spell that becomes like a line of spells that grow with the spellcaster. Some of the higher level ones, like Nightmare Assassin here, are a little more specific. They can only be enhanced a little bit because they start at a fairly high level, because they do something really amazing and cool. All right, so there are, I think, 97 spells in Shotgun Fantasy. Could have evened it out to 100, but it just didn't work out that way. And at the back of the book is a full 5e conversion guide, which just tells you my recommendations for cross-playing Everyday Heroes characters in a 5e game. Like you're running a 5e adventure, you can even have other 5e characters, and how to bring in Everyday Heroes characters to play in that world, or vice versa, taking your D&D characters and playing them in a modern Everyday Heroes adventure. So this is kind of the quick conversion guide. It leans a lot more heavily on how do you integrate the 2 rule systems rather than how do you convert all the components. So it's more like, how do you cast an Everyday Hero spell if you're a D&D character? How do you cast a D&D spell if you're an Everyday Heroes character? Without having to do a lot of conversion. That way you can do most of the work on the fly and just have fun playing the game. I did a lot of testing and play testing in all of these different scenarios, playing characters from one game in the other game. And let me tell you, it works really good. That was always my intent when I put Everyday Heroes together, was that you'd be able to do that. But a lot of people think it wouldn't work or are afraid that there would be problems, but it really plays really well. Just follow this simple guide and it'll be no problem. It also has some things for converting back and forth, but I think that's a lot more work for people and a little less productive for just having good gameplay. But still, we do cover it in there. So that's that for Shotgun Fantasy Preview. We'll have more of that as time goes on. I'll talk about different parts of the book in detail. But let's move on to talk about other things that we're doing right now. Night Magics is one of the next things that'll come out. And that is a more modern Magic book released through Lewisport Jr. Games and partnership with him. It's pretty cool. Right now I'm busy back into converting the spells. I got about 25 of the, I think, 50 to 70 spells that are in there to go. Some really crazy stuff. Radiation Beams as attack spell. Mass Lubrication, which is an enhancement of what is essentially a grease spell, but I called it Lube It. And there's lube them, lube that, lube there, and then there's like mass lubrication, which lubricates everything. There's a spell that makes a giant tentacle come out of your navel, big umbilical tentacle. You can even, one of the enhancers, you can put a hand on the end of it. Crazy stuff, right? This is kind of like Shotgun Fantasy or like classic fantasy spells with a few unusual things thrown in there, but still very fantasy themed. And these are wild, modern idea spells, much more specific, a little less generally useful, but crazy and very thematic. So it should be a lot of fun. As you can tell, my voice is a little rough because I had a cold a couple weeks ago, still kind of nipping at my heels. I mostly feel much better, but my voice, a little rough. All right, anyway, Nomad Ann is streaming on her Twitch channel still. Right now, just weekends because she's been putting all her time into working on Shotgun Fantasy, but you can find her on Saturdays and Sunday mornings. Mostly she's been streaming No Man's Sky. Gamer chat, I've been playing late on the video games. I played a little No Man's Sky, a little Dungeons & Dragons Online, just a little of this and that, because I've been working really hard, trying to get a lot of stuff done. I played some old school essentials on Monday. That's like old school D&D, except with modern rules packaging. So, I mean, it's old school rules, but they're presented in a more modern way so that they're easy to read and understand, which first edition D&D, maybe not so much. Anyway, we had a good time. We just did a classic dungeon crawl, fought some orcs. I have an elven cleric, which is a little bit unusual for old school. But like I said, old school essentials adds a few things, has some new class options if you like them, which we did. So my elven cleric is pretty cool. Great armor class, terrible offense, can't cast any spells at first level, but -1 armor class, which is like you have to roll a 20 to hit me in old school D&D. So that's great. It is the only reason we managed to survive against 7 orcs with our 2 party members. Our wizard was out sick, or had a sick cat, wasn't able to make it. So our rogue got a bit hurt, so we had to leave the dungeon at that. But we managed to pack up all the orcs' equipment onto my mule so that we could sell it off in town and hire ourselves a little hireling follower. We've got a fighter in the party now, a Thakin or something like that, I think his name is. So that's kind of fun. It's just old school. Go to the dungeon, get the treasure, try to level up, try not to die. Pretty good fun. Anything else going on? Gift shop, going pretty well. I've got my hours cut back to just the weekends. That's actually nice for me because then I've got like 5 days straight to work on SigTrent Games during business hours. I can talk to people who are also in the business, get quotes, things like that. And then on the weekends, I go work in the gift shop, which is all fine by me. It's a lot of work, but during the weekday, I can make time for myself wherever I like. So that works out pretty good, nice and consistent. Yeah, I think that's about it. And nothing else going on. I'm recovered from my cold as far as like being sick. I had a wonderful night's sleep last night. So good. And so I feel great other than the frog hanging out in my throat. So I hope you guys are doing well as well. I hope you like the new video format. If you have any comments, I love comments. Leave them for me. If not, we will see you the next video, whenever that happens to be. These also will have a little bit looser structure, but at least one video every month is my commitment this year. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.